Hi there. I hope that everyone is well today. Just before I start, I wanted to say thank you so much to all of the people who have been subscribing to my channel. It's very much appreciated, and I'm glad that people are liking what I'm doing. So yeah, you may be wondering why I have a little box of bits here. All will become clear a little bit later. I'm going to put this to one side and explain to you what I'm going to do today. So what I'm going to do today is make some little fabric yarn wrapped little frames. So I've made a few of these already. I'm going to show you now. This isn't, by the way, my original idea, as usual with most things. Someone has done very similar things before. I just had the idea the other day and kind of investigated it on Pinterest, and I did find a few, not many, a few other versions. But this is just my version. I'm just going to show you my process and what I'm doing. So it's basically just a little, this is like a jersey yarn little frame to go onto journal covers, or this one actually, which is like a little textured yarn that I've wrapped around this heart with a little bird. I've put a little bead on the bottom of this one, just poked a hole through, and I've actually put a backing on this one because I might make it into a detachable, like a brooch. So you could do that also. So yeah, I'm just going to go through and give you a closer look at what I've done, and then go through kind of what sort of things you can use for this, because this is actually a very good project for using up things, because we are using scraps of yarns, we are using up things we have, photos, bits of kit pages, things we've fussy cut, leftover bits of die cuts and that sort of thing. And also we're using up bits of card, and you'll see in a minute from the frame making process that we are actually going to be using up some bits of packaging. So yeah, so it's basically a very good scrap project. So I'm just showing you in more detail the ones that I've done. So I'm going to put these to one side for a second, and I'm going to bring back my box of bits. So this is just stuff that I have pulled together from around my desk that I think will be good. This is the yarn that I used on the heart frame that I did. It's quite a thin yarn, so it involves quite a lot of wrapping, but it's quite a nice textured result. And that was this is a big ball of this that I've been gifted by somebody. So I thought I'd use some of it up. I've also got some sari silk, so I'm just gonna, I've got one of these frames here, just to quickly show you the effect of some of these things. So I've got a bit of sari silk ribbon here, so you can see you could use that to get a nice effect. So that's just a random bit of that. I've also got some That's one of the yarns that I used. I've got some jute string here, which also, if you're making a seaside or nature journal, this could be very, very good. Just to wrap around, you can see. That would make quite a nice neutral frame. And also, I was thinking I might actually do this. This is just a bit of gauze that I've dyed, and this actually I thought would be brilliant for a kind of seaside-y, sea theme journal. If you had that in a nice blue or something, that and that might be brilliant. So yeah, anything like that you can wrap around. Going a bit more jazzy, Christmassy, you could use one of these kind of yarns to get quite a nice effect. Yeah, Christmas or something like that. Or yeah, kind of a sort of star, spacey themed journal might be quite good. And then also I've got a very chunky yarn, which these are quite good because they're very, very quick. So I've got, it's a variegated yarn, which is actually quite interesting, because when you start wrapping, you quickly get a very nice effect. So yeah, there's lots and lots of different things that you could use to do this project. So that's just a few of them, but obviously you will have different scraps or yarn that you use. I mean, it's great if you are also a kind of crocheter, knitter, because you'll have probably lots of scraps of things laying around. So what I'm going to actually show you is just my process. Like I say, it's not my original idea to wrap thread around to make a frame, but it's just, this is just my process of how to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm using actually one of these Amazon the cardboard envelopes, and I've made myself some templates for various shapes. So I've got the oval shape, I've got the heart shape, just as a template. And then what I've done is I have cut out various shapes, and with various kind of thicknesses of frame, because obviously some you want a deeper frame, and then like on this one it's a thinner frame. So this was kind of like more like this one, and this one was more sort of like this one. So, and I will explain later, I also cut through my frame in one section as well, and I'll explain why I do that. So yeah, you decide how wide you want to make your frame. What you'll also need is a piece of scrap card or something like that, and you'll want to cut it out. I would cut it out using the shape of your frame, and then what you want to do is cut away a little piece around the edge so that it's slightly smaller than your frame, because when you've finished you don't want the backing card to come too far out. You want it to be hidden, so yeah, that's why you make it slightly smaller. So once you've got that and that, you can then start making your frame. So I think I'll make this one, or will I do a big one? I might do a big one. Might do a, trying to decide now. I've also got a circle one here. Trying to decide which shape. I think I'll do the circle. So again, I've just got my circle. I've cut it through once. Got my piece of card. What I normally do is just I draw around the inside and outside of my shape, and then I draw a line in between the two, and that's where I cut, just so that I know it's going to be kind of halfway between these two. So I've got a piece of card, and I will keep that for later, and got my piece of packaging. You can use anything for this. If you've got some old bits of stiff plastic or anything really you could use, as long as it's kind of stiff enough to hold the thread when you wrap it. I'm also going to be using a bit of glue. Any glue is fine. This is a fabric glue, sort of used for beading and stuff, but any glue, it doesn't have to be a particularly fast drying glue, but you want it to dry fairly fast. So you could use Fabri-Tac, or the only thing that probably wouldn't work so well on this is glue stick, but any white glue or Fabri-Tac or anything like that. Art glitter glue, I would imagine, would work perfectly well. Okay, so we've got our glue. I'm going to use this thread because it's a quick one to wrap. And what I'm going to do first of all is just some bits on here. I'm going to put some glue on my cardboard. I'm going to do it a little bit away from where I cut. So I'm going to start. So I'm just to put a little bit of glue there, and then I am going to just stick that on there. Depending on the thickness of your yarn, it might not stick. The other thing I'm using for this that I didn't mention is some sort of clip, or I've got these little clips are very handy, or a little peg, or anything that you use, even one of these, might be a little bit big, but anything you have, just to kind of hold that there. And I've got the glue on there, so that'll be starting to hold that. So then basically all then you have to do is start wrapping around. And you can see the reason that I cut my frame is just to make it easier, so I don't have to thread my thread through the frame every time. I can just kind of wrap it around and go through the gap, rather than kind of dragging it all through, especially if you've got a ball of yarn and you don't want to cut it off until you know how much you need. You don't want to be threading it all through. So I'll just continue, and every now and again probably push it up together, and every now and again as well I put a little bit of glue, and then just continue wrapping, just so that every now and again it's kind of secured in place, so nothing's going to come unravelled. And then just continue round. And you can see with the variegated yarn, it's quite a fun effect. Just going to put a little dab more glue. You don't need a lot of glue. It should, as long as you glue it in place properly at the beginning and the end, you should be okay. I just add this for a bit of extra, just so that it doesn't move around too much. Just continue wrapping. You see with the chunky yarn, it's a very quick project. With the thinner yarn like this one, it's a smaller frame, but it took a lot longer to build up the yarn. So obviously with the fabric or sari silk and things like that, it's also quite quick because you've got quite a thick thing that you're using. So I'm quite near to the end here now, so I'm just going to wrap this once more. I'm going to put a little bit of glue here, and then I'm going to just wrap that round, and just so it doesn't unravel while I'm doing the next part, I'm going to put another clip just onto here. So you see we've got most of our frame. We've just got this, and if I was using a ball of yarn, now would be the time that I would cut it off. I would just leave myself an extra kind of length. Obviously the thinner the yarn, the more you probably want to, the more you're going to use to do the last part. So for this, I think this is going to be plenty. So what I then do is find a scrap of card, so I just find a little scrap. There's usually scraps from when I'm cutting out all my frames. So you just need a little piece like this. So you don't have to do any of this. If you want to, you know, bring your yarn through every time, or make a little ball of yarn and put that through the hoop, but I just prefer to have it open. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of glue either side of here, and I'm going to just glue this little bit of card onto here, and I'm going to hold it together with another clip, and then I will put it aside till this glue is dried. That's why I was saying it's better to have a faster drying glue, but you don't have to, or use a heat tool maybe, but be careful depending on what yarn you've got. And then you just put this aside and let it dry, and then we'll just do the final wrapping and gluing, and then we can look at how we put the frame together. Okay, I will be back when this has dried. Okay, I'm back. My glue has pretty much dried on here, so you can see it's all joined together. I've taken off all the clips. This is pretty much stuck down. This is kind of stuck here. So we're just going to wrap the last few bits around. So just continue as we have been all the way through. Push it up together. So as you can see, it doesn't matter how messy this bit is because no one is going to see it because it's covered up. So I'm going to go around, and then the last bit I'm just going to stick on top of the first bit. So I'm just going to hold that. I'm going to get my glue. I'm going to put a bit, just going to trim off this little bit sticking out here. I'm just going to put some glue onto here. This is going to be the back of the frame. I think. So just gonna put a fair amount of glue there, and then I'm just gonna stick that down to there, and as we've done before, I'm going to put a clip just onto there, and then I'm going to leave that to dry. But you can see we've got our frame. So again, once that is dry, I will come back and we will finish putting the backing on. Okay, so I have let my glue dry. It's not completely dry, but I'm very impatient. So, but it's dry enough that it's holding together. So we'll have that as the back of the frame. So yeah, I've cut off the extra bit of yarn. So there we have our frame ready. What I have done also for this, because we have our piece of backing card, so onto the backing card you want to mount whatever you want to be in your frame, whether it's a photo or with this one I actually just put a bit of coffee dye paper in the back, and then I stuck on the frame, and then I decorated this after. So you could do it that way, or like with this one, I stuck the photo to the backing card and then put the frame on. Same with this one. So there's two ways you can do that. So I'm basically going to use this, which is a bit of backing paper from one of my kits, and I've just stamped Make-A-Wish there, and another thing there. So obviously, again, you can use pictures, or you can stick anything in here, little charms, or yeah, anything you like. Or you can just put a phrase, or just have a pattern piece of paper, or anything at all. Dried flower possibly would be very nice in here. So the last bit to do is to put it together. So I'm just going to put a very thin line of glue around. Just again, I'm just using a white craft glue, but you can also use Fabri-Tac. Again, glue stick might not stick to the yarn very well, but you could try. So yeah, just a little thin bit around the outside there. I'm going to turn my frame over, and then I'm going to turn this over and just place it on the back there, and then just going to press it down. You might want to just put it under something, like maybe put a book or something on top. Just so that the glue kind of can adhere to the frame properly. But there we go. There is our frame. And you could ink this, but my intention is with these that they'll be stuck down, so it doesn't really matter what you have on the back. Obviously, unless you want to do something like this, where I was maybe going to make it into a kind of a removable brooch type thing, and then I've just used this faux leather that you buy in sheets, and I've just cut the backing shape out of that for that one. And like I say, I'm just going to use a brooch pin, or you could even on this one use something like a safety pin, which I also do sometimes, and you can just stick that on using a bit of ribbon or something onto the back, so that you get your little brooch that way. But that's just another idea of what you could do with these. So yeah, that is pretty much it. So I've now got all of these, pretty cute, which I think, yeah. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to have another video for you soon. Bye.